Hello and welcome to the Nature Unplugged podcast, where we are all about inspiring wellness in the digital age. Let's get going. Hello and welcome to the Nature Unplugged podcast with me, your host Sebastian Slovin, and with me, co-host Sonia Mohammed.
Hey everybody.
Do you like how I say your last name?
Yeah, it sounds like I'm about to start a big race or something.
I kind of think it's like a boxing fight.
Oh, wrestling. Glow just came to mind.
What does GLOW stand for again?
Glamorous Ladies of Wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're back. Another podcast.
53.
53. Oh my goodness. What are we talking about today? We're talking about the cost of comfort.
There's a price for everything.
There's a price for comfort. Sounds so extreme. But here at Nature Unplugged, we often talk about the challenges of living in the digital age, and specifically how tech advances have provided us with more comfort and conveniences than ever before, which is an awesome thing overall.
Yeah.
But there's a downside. It's so easy for us now to just kind of go into autopilot, scrolling on screens, ordering food via Uber Eats or DoorDash or any of those things. And it becomes more and more difficult to be intentional. And, our belief is that happiness and fulfillment happen when we can be intentional about how we live, how we eat, how we move, how we engage with nature, how we connect with others, how we use our devices, all those things. And so there's a cost to comfort. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get going, we have Nature Unplugged updates. What? New updates. Okay, we've got a few updates for you. Speaking of comfort and discomfort, Sonia and I recently did our WAFA recertification. That's the Wilderness Advanced First Aid. We do it every few years just to stay, on top of our skills. But we had a great time at the University of San Diego, basically doing scenario after scenario of crazy, weird, wild outdoor accidents. Mm-hmm. For example, you're hiking with some friends, a storm comes in, Sally gets struck by lightning, gets thrown 15 feet.
Oh my gosh.
What do?
That's the question.
CPR if they're not breathing or their heart's not beating.
Yeah.
Support the neck and spine.
Could be a spinal cord injury.
Yeah, anyway, we did all sorts of scenarios. Mountain climbing accidents, kayaking accidents, surfing accidents, hiking accidents, dehydration, heat exposure.
Yeah, medical stuff. I will say I was just moderately uncomfortable the whole training. But in a good way. I was learning, I was being put in situations I wasn't comfortable with, but, with the goal of when I'm potentially in those situations in real life, I'll be more comfortable than I would have otherwise.
I think we can safely say that I probably was the most stellar actor out of the group. Because we switch off. We play the actor.
Yeah, I like how you're saying that. Yeah, we do these simulations so that like one person's the patient or, trauma victim or whatever, and the other person is the first responder or rescuer. I
think my true strength is in being an unconscious victim.
Very good at being a limp body.
Yeah.
Very hard to roll and pick up.
Yeah, that's my strengths. We'll add some photos. Those are my strengths. We'll add some photos of those to the show notes to show you what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, one highlight was Sonia carried me around in a backpack.
That's true. I don't know. Carrie just made me like liberal.
Me
it was pretty hard, but Seb got in an actual backpacking backpack, and I strapped him to my back and picked him up, and then took like maybe 1.5 steps before I had to put him down.
We got to work on that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't save me.
No, I would save you with just like the piggyback one. I could walk further with you on that.
All right. We'll see. Yeah.
Improvise carries.
Okay. That's our WAFA research update.
Mm-hmm.
Hope you enjoyed it. The next update, this is, even though I'm laughing, this is a little sad. So last podcast in New News, which is a segment we do mostly every time about kind of interesting fun facts and updates around nature and technology. There was a story of a turtle in Florida who came flying in through the windshield of a driving car, hitting a lady in the head. The report stated that the turtle came away fine. With a few minor,
we were so excited,
with a few minor scratches on its shell. It really was descriptive. some scratches on the shell, and then was released by the local authorities back into the forest. Someone told me after we recorded that they did a little bit more digging on the story, and the turtle apparently did not make it. Yeah.
No.
So I'm
R.I.P.
sorry for that. If you
I was very delighted that the turtle made it.
we even talked about, wow, that's so amazing, the turtle. It must have
Yeah.
just gone into its shell, but it didn't work out.
Yeah.
Okay, so my apologies. We'll be more
It's
cautious.
probably volume shock.
If we were there,
we could have resuscitated the. Probably not.
anyway.
Oh dear.
Okay, another update is we have a new-ish offering. It's called eNew Membership.
Yeah.
And this is our.
We just started it.
Yeah, we just started it. It's really cool. It's our most personalized and high-touch offering. So this is, in-person, one-on-one, or small groups. And basically, we really limit the amount of people who are enrolled to keep the level of attention and integrity and everything and care really high level. And, you all know, we've been working with tweens, teens, and young adults for a long time. Folks who've been feeling overwhelmed with social media, consumed with gaming, or looking for, a general overhaul in their relationship with technology. And this program is all about encouraging self-reflection, personal development, and really sharing our greatest tips and tricks and giving people the tools they need to move forward and in a well way in the digital age. But the program is a combination of our coaching, digital wellness coaching, and guided nature walks. So we do all sorts of stuff with people, and it's pretty intensive. So we do every month we'll do 3 coaching sessions and 6 guided nature walks. We call them eNew walks. People get an adventure pack with all sorts of cool stuff. It's like an awesome hiking back day pack, plus Nalgene, plus Nature Unplugged shirt, buff, journal, you name it.
Sticker,
it's
pen.
in the and a cell phone sleeping bag.
Cell phone sleeping bag. That's right.
Yep.
And copies of our books.
Copies of our books.
Yeah.
Books. Ashes in the Ocean, The Adventures of eNew, and our latest book, Experience Nature Unplugged, A Guide to Wellness in the Digital Age, are all part of it. And as I mentioned, we work with, mostly it's one-on-one, but we do small groups as well, 2 to 3 people. So if you're interested in learning more, give us a buzz, send us an email, or check us out on www.natureunplugged.com. That's it for Nature Unplugged updates. Anything else, Sonia?
No new updates. I'm excited to jump into
okay, let's jump
the
into
comfort
this.
crisis.
Well, no, that's not what we're calling it.
Right.
The
cost of comfort.
The cost of comfort. Yeah, the comfort crisis is a part of it. So I thought we'd start this off. I'm really pumped to talk about this. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot. It's been around a lot. We wrote about it a lot in the book as a general theme throughout. As I said, it's this. The concept is not that mind-blowing, but obviously we have made a ton of amazing technological advances in recent years, leading to easier lives overall for us, which is great.
Yeah. And I mean, some of them I would call societal advances too, right? It's not all tech. I mean, it's certainly supported by technology.
General advancements, but we're talking mainly tech has changed things a lot in the last little bit. And so, the point is that it's nice to have a microwave and a dishwasher and a washing machine, a Roomba, all that stuff, and
a car to get you to the grocery store.
Absolutely. And the downside, of course, is that we see, and we wrote about in the book, and the stats, match up, is that while it's the most comfortable and sort of convenient time to be alive as a human for many people in the world, not everyone, of course, it's also the time when we're seeing the highest levels of obesity, sedentary lifestyles, isolation, all sorts of physical, all sorts of psychological issues, anxiety, depression, that are kind of a result also of this overly coddled and comfortable and isolated life.
I agree.
Yeah. And we like to talk about this. This is how we open the book, but we reference the movie WALL-E. Such a good movie. WALL-E, Pixar, from a few years back. It's getting up there now in age, but you may have seen it. It's basically about humans who have basically tapped out all the resources on the earth. Mm-hmm. There's no more plants or anything. It's not really hospitable. So they build a giant spaceship, and all the humans live in the spaceship as they search the galaxies for a better place to be. Of course, Wally's a little cute little robot who's like looking around for. Is Wally's job? He cleans up trash, right?
Yeah, he's like a little trash robot on Earth.
He's a trash robot on Earth. Anyway, the people we're focusing on are the humans who, on this spaceship, are basically soft little like marshmallow-like people. Just can barely function physically. They have these little hovercrafts, personalized vehicles that have a screen in front of them and basically are completely self-sustained. They have food and drink at the push of a button, entertainment at the push of a button, and they just zoom around the spaceship on their little hovercrafts.
Yeah.
And they can't walk, they can't really do anything. And we often say, it's pretty funny, that whole scenario, but it's also kind of sad because we're sort of moving in that direction.
It's shockingly, extreme. We're like not far from that. I mean, when you think about it, if I didn't want to leave my house, I would not need to leave my house.
Yeah. I mean,
probably for years. Because I could just order. I could order groceries. I could order food.
Yeah.
I just have to like keep paying the bills, and my water and electricity would work. I mean, the biggest chore would be like walking from room to room, probably.
No, you get a little like scooter.
Maybe.
Electronic scooter.
But it's like, right, when you think of it that way, we're really not far from the Wally world.
Yeah. And I think if you think about it's not everyone, of course. There's a lot of people out there who don't have these conveniences, but many of us do. And I think the average person in the United States is, think about how comfortable it is from the beginning of the day all through the end of the day. You wake up in this soft, magical bed, temperature-controlled environment.
Food in your fridge.
Food in the fridge. Pop something in the microwave. Yeah. What are those little coffee makers called? Oh yeah. Little coffee the coffee pods, Nespresso, whatever. Jump in your car, also climate controlled. You're sitting, head to work, sit in an office, climate controlled behind a screen.
Even if you take the bus, climate controlled. Yeah. Someone's transporting you. You're not walking.
So so we got food, we got like comfortable temperature, we got entertainment, and everything is basically comfortable.
Yeah. And very accessible, right? That's part of the comfort.
Right.
The convenience, yeah.
Again, right, there's no nothing wrong with comfort, I think, to a certain extent, but when it becomes the only thing that you experience, and we are not, generally speaking, pushing out of our comfort zone and into discomfort, then it becomes a problem. And I think that's when you see kind of the despair, the isolation, just sort of lack of purpose that we are dealing with, I think, on a large scale as a society. Yeah. Sonya's nodding.
It's resonating. It's landing. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that prompted us to do this particular topic, to talk about this particular topic, is we came across a book called The Comfort Crisis just recently. Not done with it, but still reading it. It's great so far, by Michael Easter. And, very much aligned with our views here at Nature Unplugged. We talk a lot more about the specifics of like social media and tech and all that stuff, but it really does. The book does a great job of highlighting this issue.
Yes, yeah. The book is so good that we couldn't wait to talk to you about it.
Yeah, we'll probably do a recap.
Yeah.
After book review after we're done for sure.
Yes.
But I think again, it's nothing too new, too mind-blowing, but it's like solid research, well written, and I think I want to talk about some of your highlights let's just talk about some of the highlights of the book so far, even though we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
What's one of the highlights?
There's lots of highlights. Yeah, but one of the things that really has stuck with me is this idea that like today's comfort is tomorrow's discomfort.
Say more about that.
Or maybe it's the other way. Today's discomfort is tomorrow's comfort. The idea was that like whatever we find comfortable now will like become uncomfortable because things will get more convenient or whatever, and then it just keeps sort of sliding into this like ever expanding or ever shrinking, depending on how you look at it, like comfort zone. But I just appreciate in the book sort of all of the attention he's bringing for myself of the things that I take for granted and maybe just like find comfortable without thinking about sort of the gratitude and the privilege to have it, and how I'm becoming less and less likely to push myself into uncomfortable positions. And I like I like the misogi. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right.
I think that's right. Yeah.
But it's this idea that you are trying to find something, whether it's like a physical, mental, or social sort of challenge, that you have like a 50% chance of succeeding at. So it's like really, really at the edges of what you're currently capable of, but still potentially achievable. And the idea is just the challenge, right? Like pushing yourself sort of to the edges. He also talks about these like 2 rules of like make it really hard and also don't die. Like 2.
Rule number 1, make it super hard. Rule number 2, don't die. It's great.
Yeah, it's super great. Simple, great. But it's like finding and walking the balance between that. And I don't often do things that are super hard anymore. I might do things that are a little bit hard, or like really, for a minute they're hard. But sustained challenge is not so much in my lifestyle anymore. So I've been excited to explore that and challenge myself a bit more.
Yeah. I mean, I think I think the misogi? Yeah, it's a really good thing. And we can dive into that more, but I do think the general takeaway and the general theme is there's growing research around this, and we did some of this research in our book, Experience Nature Unplugged, but it's that a life without stepping outside of your comfort zone is ultimately going to be, feel kind of meaningless and
unsatisfying
and just sort of like bland, and it's no way to be. Right, we talk about this a lot. There's the, you got your comfort zone, you got the challenge zone, and what else?
Well, it's like the challenge zone, sort of your learning zone.
Yeah.
And then there's the panic zone.
The panic zone, yeah,
which you don't really want to be in.
Yeah.
That's the like maybe I'm gonna die zone.
Yeah.
So really like finding the edges and not going beyond your sort of learning challenge zone if you can.
And that's like a 3-ring. We've talked about this before, but the innermost, let's say 3 concentric circles. The innermost circle is the comfort zone. The second circle is the challenge zone or learning zone. The outermost circle is the panic zone. And the general concept here is that, you may have heard this before, but that as you step out of your comfort zone into your learning zone or into your challenge zone, then the whole thing grows. Your learning zone, over the course of time, as you like step out more and more with a particular activity or challenge, your comfort, that challenge then becomes within your comfort zone. Right. And your challenge zone is then even further out, and your panic zone is even further out. And the opposite is also true, that if you stay in your comfort zone, like many of us are doing, the whole thing kind of shrinks in. You become, your comfort zone gets smaller and smaller. I think it goes to the thing you just talked about, which is like today's comforts or tomorrow's discomforts. Yeah. Is that, let's say you just isolate and stay in your house. When it used to be going down the street to the supermarket wasn't a big deal. If you just start ordering food online for a number of months, it's going to become quite uncomfortable to go out, get in the car, or walk to the supermarket.
Yeah, and so interact with people again. And I think a lot of people are feeling this with the isolation from the pandemic of going back to work or going back to school. There wasn't as much choice in that particular isolation, but I think a lot of us can relate to like going back to things that were previously normal now feel sort of uncomfortable until we do them a little bit, and then they become comfortable and our zone expands a little bit again.
And I think the thing that's so tricky about this, I think this is like a general societal thing. This is my opinion here, then it can easily become like this is a diagnosis. I've isolated, stayed at home, and now I have. It's really hard for me now to go to the store, so I now have like an anxiety disorder or whatever. You get diagnosed, and then that can reinforce that mindset of there's something wrong with me, overly concerned, nervous, etc. I'm not saying there's no real legitimate mental health stuff. Obviously, that's, I'm passionate about, breaking the stigma around that. But I think that that's what we're kind of seeing more nowadays with like overly coddled kids, that it becomes a diagnosis when actually it's going to be uncomfortable, and you got to step out of
Well,
the
sure.
thing. It's
And
going
it
to be
could
hard.
be both, right? It
Yeah.
could be you have that, and there are ways that you can control and come out of it too. It's not
Right.
just like,
I think
dealing with it for life.
And the danger zone is when it becomes like you really take that to heart, and you're like, well, I have this thing now, so I'm sort of just, going to stay at home for the rest of my life.
Right. And I think
Right.
I think another piece of this is, or the piece where technology comes into play, is that because most of us have smartphones or devices that are really like available and accessible to us, when we find ourselves in an uncomfortable moment, we almost escape into those devices.
Right.
Right. It's like it's a crutch, a coping mechanism. And where before we would just have to sit uncomfortably or like continue in an interaction, and we couldn't escape to our phone. And that's like the immediate in the moment one. But then also we're maybe not choosing to go do things that would challenge us because it's easy and convenient to just watch a show or scroll through social media, play a video game, etc. So it works both in sort of the direct immediate escape, and then also the less direct and subtle escape and avoidance of discomfort.
And this is at the core of a lot of what we talk about with the inner work of wellness in the digital age, which really has to do with this, exactly what you just talked about, which is understanding when we, and everyone's going to be different with this, but when we individually are using tech as a crutch or to get out of an uncomfortable conversation or uncomfortable situation, and kind of notice that, and then you have a choice to step into it. And the more we can step into that, the better. And I think, so this, again, I think we'll do we come back to the comfort crisis. But I want to circle back to you because, like, I think lots of stuff you can do to step out of your comfort zone, but a few things just to kind of like mix it up before we move into new news.
Okay. Tell me.
Okay. And this is something we've been doing for a while, but I think it's a really cool thing to get legitimately hungry every day. Like at least once a day to feel actual, real hunger.
Right.
And I think that's something that many people do not experience. And hunger is more just like, it's 9 a.m. or 12 p.m. or whatever, or 5:30 p.m. and it's time for my 3 meals. And I think that is one way to push out of your comfort zone. The other one is temperature, right? A practice that I've been doing for a while is, when I can, is going surfing without a wetsuit, even when it's really cold. It does get cold in San Diego. I know people are listening like, where's this guy, San Diego? But the water gets cold. And it just I think is a helpful thing for me personally to not just be at whatever 72 degrees all the time.
Yeah, I think also just not turning on the AC or the heat immediately when you sort of drop out of your 5-degree temperature comfort range.
And I think just one other one is, we talked about this a little bit, but just when you're in an uncomfortable situation, really become hyper focused of the pull to check your phone to get out of the situation. Like whether it's boredom or an awkward, elevator ride or whatever it is, waiting in line at the grocery store, just hang in there.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
So yeah, like hyper focused on like the world around you.
Yeah, I mean hyper focused on like the pull also to check your phone.
You mean aware? Hyper aware?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Just being aware of it. And then you have a choice to be like, I'm not going to look at it.
Right. Yeah, trying to break that unconscious habit.
Yeah.
Love it.
Okay. So that's the task. Stepping into discomfort, stepping out of your comfort zone, into the challenge zone, into the learning zone. Right? Okay. You know what time it is?
New news.
It's time for the jingle. Go ahead, Sonia.
Go ahead, Seb.
Go ahead.
News.
New news.
New news.
That was good. Okay, new news for today. This is sort of related to our comfort zone conversation, but the new news is we're going to do a highlight on a woman who's become known as Grandma Gatewood.
It's a cool name.
Grandma Gatewood.
Or a cool nickname. Grandma Gatewood.
Yeah. So Emma Rowena, how do you say that? Rowena Gatewood. I'm just going to pass
Maybe
over
just
that.
say Emma Gatewood.
Emma Gatewood, also known as Grandma Gatewood. Basically, she is or was an American ultralight hiking pioneer. So she's got a pretty incredible story. I read up on this, and so hopefully we're going to avoid the turtle situation. But basically, here's the dynamic. She lived from 1887 to 1973. During that time, she was, or during her life, she had I won't get way into this, but a difficult relationship, kind of, I think, husband who abused her and was not great, violent and so forth. But she was the mother to 11 children and persevered. And basically, she became the first solo female thru hiker of the Appalachian Trail. Appalachian Trail, how do you say it? Which is 2,168 miles.
And she was 67 at the time.
That's nuts.
That's incredible.
So she also later became the first person, male or female, to hike the AT. I'll just call it the AT. The AT...
And by that he means Appalachian Trail.
Appalachian Trail. 3 times. Pretty amazing. So she was hardcore. And I think I read into this, and it was like really wild. She would basically just take a little knapsack. I mean, I think about, Sonia and I were just talking about, we're going to go to REI this weekend to get some stuff. They're having a sale. We're going to get some stuff. And how kind of crazy you can go with all the gear and the high-tech equipment. And I was looking at some photos of this lady, Grandma Gatewood. She has like literally a knapsack, and that's it. No tent, no sleeping bag. I mean, maybe she had a blanket or something, but I think she had just the bare minimum. And she had some obviously some outdoor skills. But really, I guess, she was a game changer in how people saw backpacking and kind of started this revolution of going, instead of having like as giant a pack as you could have with all sorts of stuff in it, is going like ultralight and minimalist. So she's the OG minimalist hiker.
She seems pretty incredible. I mean, I feel like I'm not. I've done some camping, done some hiking, and I can be still pretty picky about sleeping. Sometimes I have a lot of trouble sleeping when I'm camping. Usually it's like by the 3rd night I'm doing good. But I can't imagine not even having like a sleeping pad or a sleeping bag.
Yeah.
She's pretty cool.
Well, I think that thing of goes back to the comfort talk, you know? I think if you did that for a few times,
yeah.
We all could learn a thing or two from old Grandma Gatewood.
Indeed.
Rest in peace. You know, I want to add a new, this is on the fly, new podcast feature. You ready for this?
Yep, segment. Got
We don't have a name for it yet.
Okay. What's it going to be about?
Community engagement.
Like our community? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
engaging
talking
with the
about,
community.
I would love to know, here's what I'd love to know, Sonia.
Yes.
Folks listening out there, what are your thoughts on this deal with comfort versus discomfort? Is, you're with us, you disagree, we'd love to hear, either way, we'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you are kind of on board with us, this idea that we're too comfortable and it's, it's helpful to push into discomfort, we'd love to hear some ways that you do that. What are some ways that you currently, if you have a practice of being uncomfortable, what are some ways you do that? Or if you have thoughts about how you'd like to do that, what are your ideas? What are your thoughts? We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at info@natureunplugged.com. You can also, tag us on social media at natureunplugged.com. That's sort of, we often say this. We get the irony here that we're Nature Unplugged. Tag us in your social media posts about being uncomfortable.
That's great. I like this idea.
Yeah.
I want to hear from people about if this is landing with them, if we're missing the mark, etc.
I want to hear some photos. I want to hear some stories and learn some new things about.
You want to hear some photos?
I want to hear some photos.
Yeah, me too.
That would be cool.
Yeah, I want to get some sound in my photos.
A photo
is that just
with
a
sound.
video? Oh no, it would be still. Sort of like Harry Potter, where it's like you've got that little like live clip, the like 2-second loop, maybe with some audio. Okay, we can move on. I digress.
Okay, that'll do it for this episode of the Nature Unplugged podcast. You can find our episodes on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, and other podcast platforms. We're now on YouTube, so check us out. We would love it if you could take a moment to rate and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and like us on YouTube. That helps our channels a ton. Be sure to visit www.natureunplugged.com for more information about our coaching, workshops, presentations, retreats, our e-new membership, and other things that we offer. You can also, of course, find more detailed show notes on our website. Thank you so much for listening, and until next time, remember to experience nature unplugged.
And be uncomfortable.
And be uncomfortable. Bye.
Bye.
Things change like seasons out of our control. If you think you should go, I will let you go.